Good day. I'm Chen Thomas, and I am a project officer for FAWM Foundation, fighting alienation of women and minors living in poverty here in Nigeria. And today I will be moderating an executive panel to discuss about the READ Act with a focus on the current advocacy for reauthorization of the Act by the US Congress and the possible adoption of the Act by other countries around the world. Just before I bring my panelists on board, I would like to give a brief insight on the history of the READ Act, which is reinforcing education accountability in development. The bill was passed and sponsored by Senator Marco Rubio alongside Senator Richard Durbin. One of the purposes of this READ Act was to amend the Foreign Assistance Act of 1961 to include access to basic education under its umbrella. The purpose of the Foreign Assistance Act of 1961 is also to promote foreign policy on security, general welfare, by assisting partner countries in efforts towards economic development and security. The Foreign Assistance Act of 1961 had many amendments, and one of them, which is the most recent, is the READ Act. The passage of the READ Act, according to Durbin, during his press release, is going to help children, particularly girls, with quality education and empower them to improve the lives of their families and change the course of their nations. Why is this act important? According to the UNESCO Institute of Statistics and the Global Education Monitoring, they show that in Nigeria alone, we have over 8.7 million children who are supposed to be in primary school. They are not in school yet. In Sudan, we have over 2.7 million children. And in Ethiopia, we have 2.1 million children. These children are not given the opportunity or the chance to thrive and challenge themselves due to the vast global poverty that has encompassed them. Such statistics emphasize the importance of the READ Act to be passed into law so as to be able to give the marginalized children in these communities the opportunity. I would like to proceed with a brief introduction of my panelists for today, starting with Ms. Storia Davis, who is an intern at the Borgen project, and also the second executive panelist on my list today is Ms. Adepeju Jokesenumi, who is the Executive Director of FAWM Foundation here in Nigeria.
All right, thank you, Thomas, for that amazing introduction and kickstarting the conversation about the READ Act. And Tori, it's absolutely nice to speak to you again. I must say that I find it very intriguing that FAWM Foundation, through its tailored and targeted development projects, is already achieving or delivering the goals of the READ Act here in Nigeria. And obviously alongside that is the SDG Goal 4 that we are equally fulfilling by taking education to the rural communities, or quote unquote, vulnerable communities. So as Thomas has reiterated in his introduction, we've heard the numbers. As humanitarians, we sit, we read, we deliberate time and time over about the numbers of lack of education being accessible by young adults, children, and women especially. There is one very common phrase here at FAWM Foundation where we say the poverty of a woman and a child is densely interlinked. Very important for us that if we must deal with the poverty that affects a child, we must start with the mother. Likewise, if you would look at the cases of child labor around the world, if the mother is extremely poor or the mother figure in the household is poor, then you would find that children will have to step out of being a child to then start taking up certain responsibilities, quote unquote, meant for adults. In our strive to give our own quota towards the access to quality education in Nigeria, we started right off in 2015 by taking education to the rural communities, matter of fact, to the doorsteps of our beneficiary. So we had adopted the concept of the homeschool and taken the education to the settlements, or as you would have here in Nigeria in the northern region, the Almajiri settlement. Those are the northerners. It's a portion of the northerners here in Nigeria that you would find that education deprivation is really high in that region. We have been taking this education to them to ensure that children have access to this education, likewise young adults. And how did we do that? We have 3 core projects actually. One is the Foster project, which is targeted at children. Then we have the YAGIT for young adults, and then we have the SIS, which is the CIS project for our women. But the baseline for all this is all about education, giving appropriate and relevant education to this category of people, right? And ensuring that this somewhat helps put them on the right path towards then living better lives, and hopefully also exploring their skills, their talents and intellect, and hopefully also preferring some solutions in whatever various corners they are in the world. So access to education has actually been at the heart of what we do here. So take, for example, the CLIP classroom. We have been, since 2015, we have been able to impact over 2,000 direct and indirect beneficiaries through this project. And likewise, there is a prerequisite training for our SIS project, and also the YAGIT project, which is split up in 2 sub-projects under that umbrella, which is the service skill and the grad up. Grad up is tailored towards research administration and a presentation skill development for graduates that have just come out fresh of university, but do not necessarily have what it takes to literally survive in a white collar job, right? We find a lot of them are lacking. Those that in the rural communities and go to maybe the government owned or public, as we like to call it here, institutions, I believe they have laboratories with some devices, but not necessarily running. That might also be due to the fact that there might not be electricity available in those regions. And likewise, we have service skill, which is for the young adults also, but in this case now illiterates that can build some artisanship skills. Being able to shed more light on what FAWM does is just to reiterate the fact that we are so excited about the READ Act, and we are really impressed that this is actually a thing that is being pushed, that all other countries should implement. This shouldn't actually even be deliberated. I think it should just be an action that should be taken up by world leaders, because it is a brilliant idea. Even though this started in Colorado, I think all countries, all communities, all societies around the world should be adopting this. And most importantly, we are definitely on board the fact that Congress should reauthorize this, because if it is reauthorized in the US, that is the only way we can even implement it here in Africa or Nigeria specifically. I will allow you, Tori, to then educate us a little bit more about this, and our audience can also learn more. Thank you.
Starters, I want to say thank you all for having me. I really feel like conversations and collaborations like this one help to make the world a better place. So just some background about the Borgen Project. We are a nonprofit organization founded in 2003 that works towards addressing the issues created by extreme poverty and solving them. We are based in the United States because we operate through mobilizing grassroots advocacy aimed to garner support for important legislature within the United States government. The Borgen supporters, this being said, are all over the world. I've met interns from the United Kingdom and countries as such. Recent legislature that has passed in the 117th Congress with the support of the Borgen Project includes the Global Malnutrition Prevention and Treatment Act and the Reauthorization of the Global Food Security Act. We believe that strengthening the opportunities available to those suffering from extreme poverty will help to build a national, interconnected global society. As Thomas highlighted in his introduction, the READ Act tasks the United States to work with partner countries to create a strategy that promotes education in the areas that need it most. In alignment with your statistics out of Peju, Sub-Saharan Africa has the most concerning number of children out of school. 1/5 of children between 6 and 11 years old are not receiving an education, and 1/3 of children aged 12 to 14. How the READ Act works is that US aid creates partnerships with developing countries in need of educational aid. A short and long-term plan is created, enacted, and monitored to ensure effectiveness. To continue the programs that have been developed through this piece of legislation, the Borgen Project is working to grow awareness and promote advocacy in support of the Act's reauthorization. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Thank you very much, Ms. Adikbeju, for the wonderful presentation. It's been insightful, it's been enlightening. I have a few questions for you, Thori, owing to the fact that you are a representative of the Borgen Project, who is currently implementing the READ Act. So I have a few line of questions here that I would want you to throw more light on concerning the Act. So the first question on my end is, which African countries is the READ Act currently being implemented?
Yeah, absolutely. According to a USAID congressional report between the years of 2018 and 21, African countries that received educational support include Benin, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Cote d'Ivoire, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Kenya, Liberia, Lesotho, Madagascar, Malawi, Mali, Mauritania, Mozambique, Nigeria, Rwanda, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Somalia, South Africa, South Sudan, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, and Zimbabwe.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your response. We are so happy and privileged that this act is already within Africa, and then it is our honest desire that it get reauthorized so that communities within Africa can enjoy the benefits of it. So my second question would be that what measures are employed by the Borgen Project to assist third world countries in raising literacy rates, improving the quality of education, of fundamental education, and leveraging education as a tool to support sustainable development, growth, and economic growth?
Of course. Here at the Borgen Project, we inform and mobilize. Informing is the very first step. If people do not know the issue caused by lack of education access, we cannot begin to take steps to make improvements. Working with humanitarian organizations such as FAWM, creating educational materials and workshops for those who are looking to become aware, and encouraging action. Action can look like many things. It can be looking for volunteer opportunities, working with legislators to encourage policy, or spreading awareness to your neighbor. Legislation that the Borgen Project has helped to pass that targets educational insecurity includes the Malala Yousafzai Scholarship Act and the Protecting Girls' Access to Education in Vulnerable Settings Act. And these are just a couple of the specific legislation that we have pushed, we have really advocated for.
Okay, thank you very much. So lastly, on my end, what are the criteria for being selected to receive educational aid outside the United States of America?
As I had said before, USAID is a department that oversees and develops these strategies for improvements in developing countries. They accept applications from countries interested in being a recipient of an education assistance program. They work outside education assistance, but for the sake of this conversation, that's what we're focusing on. Due to limited funding, they review applications as they come in, and they respond in the consideration of the 3 principles that they outlined on their website, which is evidence, cost effectiveness, and potential for scale.
All right, thank you. So not a question though, but just for clarity, that is to say that for organizations that would wish to get aid from the Borgen Project, we have to go through the USSAID when there's a call for application, right?
So just to clarify, that is for foreign assistance from the United States. The Borgen Project, what we do is we work to encourage the legislation that provides the foreign assistance. The organization itself is a nonprofit, and though we have a lot of individual supporters who do take up volunteer act and donation, the focus of the Borgen Project is to help to pass through Congress the legislation that then provides the assistance.
All right, thank you very much for your feedback. I would like to ask if PJ has questions from her own end that she would wish to ask.
All right, thank you, Thomas. I actually do not have any question, Again, just still intrigued by, what Borgen project is doing with the act, pushing for the Congress to see this reauthorization, done as quickly as possible. FAWM is already in or on track in terms of meeting up with the goals. What we do is already seeing the goal implemented in our own little corner. And obviously, we would look forward to, collaborations that would then aid us to push further in terms of our impact and our reach, to ensure that we can reach out to more rural areas within Nigeria and hopefully even venture out to other African countries. But it's been a very effective discourse, one that has also broadened my mind in terms of what we could be doing respectively as individuals, as humanitarians, as advocates, to ensure that our actions are informing those in leadership to see how quality education can be provided or must be provided to every corner of their countries, because this is important, just as our security and safety is. If we have people that their intellectual capacity is being channeled negatively out of disengagement, for example, like we see with youth disengagement, we will have them as criminals that would knock on our doors or boggle our houses in the long run. So we have to ensure that the right, appropriate kind of education is given with priority for women, children, and young adults. Again, just impressed with the work that Borgen is doing, and I've absolutely enjoyed being on this discourse. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your feedback. I would like to add that what the Borgen project is doing, it's outstanding, and then we hope that the READ Act will be reauthorized so as to enable young children, women, and girls around the world to be able to gain access to the right education that will equip them for the future, so as to contribute positively to their communities and the world at large. Thank you all my panelists for joining in and speaking brilliantly. We hope to have more of these discussions, and we hope that in subsequent times we'll have testimonies to share about the act being reauthorized and the impact that it's going to make in the world, or it will make in the world moving forward. And thank you for joining in.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Similarly impressed by all the work that you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you, Tori. Thank you, Thomas. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.